Does this sound familiar? You find yourself constantly reacting to what other people say, letting their words completely ruin your day. A single comment, a thoughtless action, even a slight shift in someone's tone, and suddenly your inner peace is gone. Hijacked for hours, maybe even days. You replay the moment, you pick apart their intention, and you feel that familiar, burning sting of anger, frustration, or disrespect. It feels like you're powerless, as if anyone, at any time, can push a button and take control of your mood. But what if you could use the timeless strategies of a political mastermind to become immune to insults and emotional manipulation? What if you could develop a mind so disciplined that no one could ever bother you again? This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about becoming untouchable. It's about understanding that true power isn't about controlling others, but having absolute, unshakable control of yourself. For centuries, leaders have studied the work of Niccolo Machiavelli, not just to win wars, but to master the subtle art of human psychology. Now, Machiavelli himself didn't write a guide to modern emotional regulation, but his principles are a masterclass in emotional control. The Machiavellian mindset understands that raw emotion makes you predictable, sensitive, and easy to control. The person ruled by their own emotions will always be ruled by those who know how to exploit them. So, let's break down the 7 unbreakable rules, inspired by this strategic way of thinking, to build a mental fortress so strong that no one can ever breach its walls. The first one is the most important, because it's the foundation for everything else. Rule 1. Master the delayed reaction. The first and most fundamental rule is to master the delayed reaction. We live in a hyperreactive world, conditioned to respond instantly. A text demands an immediate reply. A critical email sparks a defensive response in minutes. An insult online just begs for a swift, cutting comeback. This immediacy is your greatest weakness. A strategic mindset, inspired by Machiavellian thought, is built on separating emotion from decision. When you feel a powerful emotion, anger, offense, irritation, and you react instantly, you are not in control. Your emotion is. You're just a puppet for an impulsive, unthinking response. A mastermind, however, understands that in the gap between a trigger and a response lies all their power. They create a deliberate pause. This isn't about suppressing your anger. It's about refusing to be its slave. Think of it like this. When someone throws a verbal punch, your instinct is to either hit back or crumble. Both are losing moves. Hitting back escalates the conflict on their terms. Crumbling gives them the victory. The strategic approach is to do neither. You simply watch the punch fly past you. You observe the anger, the insult, the provocation as a piece of data. You note it, you analyze it, but you do not internalize it. That rude comment from a coworker isn't a reflection of your worth. It's data about their lack of professionalism or maybe their own insecurity. Being cut off in traffic isn't a personal attack. It's data about another driver's recklessness. By delaying your reaction, you give your logical mind time to catch up with your emotional brain. You go from being played by your emotions to playing chess with them. Here's the practical application. The next time you feel that flash of anger, that jolt of being offended, impose a mandatory waiting period. If it's a text, put the phone down for an hour. If it's an email, close the tab and walk away. If it's a verbal comment, your response should be a simple, neutral, "I'll have to think about that." Or even better, complete silence. This delay does 2 powerful things. First, it lets the raw intensity of the emotion fade, giving you a clearer mind to form a strategic response, not a reactive one. Second, it unnerves your opponent. People who try to provoke you expect a reaction. It feeds them. When you give them nothing, you starve them of their power and keep your own. Silence and non-reaction in the face of provocation aren't weakness. They're the ultimate display of control. Rule 2. Cultivate strategic detachment once you've created that pause. What do you do in the gap? That brings us to rule number 2. Cultivate strategic detachment. This is often confused with being cold or uncaring, but that's not it at all. Strategic detachment isn't about feeling nothing. It's about choosing what's worthy of your emotional investment. Your peace of mind is your most valuable asset. You have to guard it like a king guards his kingdom. Machiavelli saw that leaders who trusted too easily or got emotionally tangled in every single conflict were always the first to fall. They were vulnerable because their enemies knew exactly which strings to pull. To be untouchable, you have to learn to see the world from a detached perspective, like you're watching a play unfold rather than getting swept up in the drama on stage. Think of your mind as a fortress. Inside the walls are your peace, your focus, and your values. Outside are the chaotic events of the world, other people's opinions, their moods, their provocations, their dramas. Most people leave the gates of their fortress wide open. Anyone can wander in, cause chaos, and leave you to clean up the emotional mess. Strategic detachment is becoming the gatekeeper of that fortress. You decide what gets in. You can observe the battle raging outside, the gossip at work, the political arguments online, the petty slights from insecure people. But you do not have to let it inside your walls. Let's take a common example. A critical boss or family member. Their criticism feels like a direct assault. The detached approach is to recognize their words for what they are: external events. Their opinion is just that, an opinion. It's a product of their own experiences, biases, and emotional state. It only gets power over you if you grant it power. To practice this, constantly ask yourself, is this within my control? The words and actions of others are not. Your reaction to them is. A strategist focuses their energy only on what they can control. They see an insult not as a truth to be absorbed, but as a tactic being used by another player. Why are they using it? What do they hope to gain? This shift in perspective moves you from being a victim to being an analyst. This doesn't mean you become a doormat, quite the opposite. Detachment gives you the clarity to act more effectively. Instead of a tearful, angry argument with that critical family member, your detached mind might lead you to calmly set a boundary. I understand that's your opinion, but I won't continue this conversation if it isn't constructive. This response comes from a place of power and self-respect, not emotional injury. Emotional detachment isn't apathy. It's strategic emotional economy. You spend your emotions where they'll give you the greatest return, and you refuse to waste them on things that don't serve you. Rule 3. Master the art of unreadability. Rule number 3 is to master the art of unreadability. In a world where everyone broadcasts their every thought and feeling, the person who conceals their intentions holds a supreme advantage. A Machiavellian thinker knows that power is most secure when it's hidden. If your enemies, or even your friends, can read you like a book, they can predict your moves, anticipate your weaknesses, and manipulate you with ease. Most people are emotionally transparent. Their face shows their disappointment, their tone reveals their anger, their posture slumps in defeat. They're an open book, and an open book is easily controlled. The unreadable person, however, is a puzzle. They're calm when others expect panic, silent when others expect an outburst, and observant when others are emotional. This composure isn't passive, it's a weapon. It unnerves people. It makes them second, guess their own strategies. Think about a high-stakes negotiation. One person is visibly anxious, fidgeting, talking too much, trying to fill the silence. The other is perfectly still, their face a neutral mask, their gaze steady. Who has the power? The one who reveals nothing. Their silence forces the other person to keep talking, to reveal more information, to give away their position. The less you reveal, the more others project onto you. They will fill your silence with their own fears and assumptions. You can use this in everyday life. During a disagreement, instead of raising your voice and listing every grievance, try holding calm, steady eye contact and saying very little. Let the other person exhaust themselves emotionally. Your stillness becomes a mirror, reflecting their own agitation back at them. In that space of quiet control, you can observe their tactics, understand their true motives, and choose your response from a position of strength, not reactivity. To become unreadable, you have to become hyper, aware of your own emotional leaks. Do you sigh heavily when you're frustrated? Do you frown when you disagree? Do you talk faster when you're nervous? These are the tells that give you away. Practice maintaining a neutral facial expression, even when you feel strong emotions. Slow your speech and lower your tone. Use pauses strategically. Silence isn't an absence of communication. It's a powerful form of it. This doesn't mean becoming a robot. The goal isn't to eliminate your emotions, but to control their expression. You choose what to reveal and when to reveal it for maximum strategic impact. In a world full of emotionally exposed people, the person who has mastered their own expression becomes an enigma. And in the game of social dynamics, the enigma always has the upper hand. People can't attack what they can't see. They can't manipulate what they don't understand. By becoming unreadable, you become untouchable. We're at the halfway point. If these ideas are starting to click, if you're seeing how you can shift from a state of reaction to a state of control, then take a second to like this video. It's a small signal that you're ready to stop letting the world dictate your emotions and start building your own inner fortress. And let me know in the comments, which of these first 3 rules do you find the most challenging? Your journey to self-mastery starts by identifying your biggest battlefield. Use emotions as data, not directives. Rule number 4 requires a huge shift in your relationship with your feelings. You must learn to use your emotions as data not as directives. Most people experience an emotion and assume it's a command. Anger commands them to shout. Sadness commands them to withdraw. Fear commands them to flee. They just obey. A strategist, however, views emotions as an intelligence report from the front lines of their mind. This is a core principle of modern psychological techniques like cognitive reappraisal. A strategic mindset knows that emotional reactivity is a critical weakness because it means you lose control. But the emotion itself isn't the enemy. It's valuable information. Your anger is not a command to attack. It's data telling you that one of your boundaries has been crossed. Your anxiety isn't a command to panic. It's data suggesting a potential future threat that requires preparation. Your frustration isn't a command to give up. It's data indicating that your current strategy isn't working and needs to be reevaluated. When you treat emotions as directives, you're their servant. When you treat them as data, you are their master. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague publicly dismisses your idea. The old you would feel a hot flash of anger and embarrassment. This emotion might direct you to either lash out, well, your idea wasn't so great either, or shut down completely, your confidence shot for the rest of the day. The new you, the strategist, feels that same flash of anger but treats it as a data point. The data reads, boundary of professional respect has been breached, potential threat to status. Instead of obeying the anger's directive to attack, you use this data to make a calculated move. You might pause, make steady eye contact and say, I'd like to understand your objection more clearly. Can you walk me through your specific concerns? This response is devastatingly effective. You haven't suppressed your anger. You've channeled it into a focused, controlled, and strategic inquiry. You've taken the emotional energy and turned it into a tool for clarity and accountability. You've put the other person on the spot to justify themselves, all while appearing calm and rational. This is the essence of using your emotions as a weapon instead of being wounded by them. To practice this, start labeling your emotions as data reports. When you feel a surge of negativity, mentally step back and ask, what is this emotion telling me? What boundary was crossed? What need isn't being met? Write it down if you have to. Report, anger, cause, felt disrespected when interrupted. Implication, my need to be heard is not being met. This simple act of observation creates distance. It shifts you from being asterisk in asterisk, the emotion, to being an observer asterisk of asterisk it. From this vantage point, you can decide how to act. You might realize the best move is to reassert your boundary later in private. You might realize the person who slighted you is irrelevant and the day isn't worth acting on. Or you might use that energy to press for a more logical outcome. Emotions are not your master. They are your advisors. And a wise leader listens to all their advisors but reserves the right to make the final decision themselves. Isolate the true threat. The mirror principle, the fifth rule, is advanced and requires a level of radical self-honesty that most people aren't willing to embrace. To become truly immune to others, you must understand the mirror principle. What angers you most in other people is often a disowned part of yourself. This concept, explored in depth by psychologists like Carl Jung with his idea of the shadow self, has a powerful strategic application. A mastermind must know themselves completely, not just their strengths, but their hidden weaknesses, their secret vanities, and the parts of their personality they pretend don't exist. Why? Because any part of yourself that you haven't acknowledged is a blind spot, and a blind spot is a vulnerability that your enemies can and will exploit. When you find yourself having a ridiculously angry reaction to someone's behavior, it's a giant red flag. If someone is arrogant and it drives you into a rage, ask yourself, is there a part of me that secretly fears I'm not successful enough, and their arrogance triggers my own insecurity? If someone is lazy and you can't stand it, is it because you are relentlessly hard on yourself and never rest, and their laziness reflects a freedom you won't allow yourself? The thing that bothers you is a mirror. The person is just the frame. You're really reacting to the reflection of a shadow self, a part of you that you've suppressed. Their behavior forces you to look at something you don't want to see in yourself. That's why the anger feels so personal and so intense. It's an internal war, not an external one. A strategist doesn't run from this uncomfortable truth. They turn towards it. They use these moments of intense irritation as opportunities for self-discovery. Let's say you have a colleague who is constantly seeking attention, and it infuriates you. The reactive person gossips and complains about them, letting the anger fester. The strategist asks a different question. Why does this bother me so much? Is there a part of me that craves validation but is too proud to admit it? Do I resent them for so openly asking for something I secretly want? By confronting this, you integrate that disowned part of yourself. You might realize that, yes, you do want more recognition. Instead of being angry at your colleague, you can now develop a conscious strategy to earn that recognition, rather than letting the desire fester in your subconscious. Once you earn that part of yourself, the reflection in the mirror loses its power. Your colleague's attention seeking might still be annoying, but it no longer has the ability to hijack your emotional state. It's just their behavior, not a personal attack on your hidden insecurities. Mastering this is the key to true emotional invincibility. When you understand your own shadow, no one can use it against you. Other people's actions become just actions, stripped of the emotional weight you used to attach to them. You no longer see monsters in the world. You see only reflections of the parts of yourself you have yet to master. Master strategic silence and scarcity. The sixth rule builds on the art of unreadability and takes it a step further. You must master strategic silence and the principle of emotional scarcity. In our noisy world, everyone is desperate to be heard. They offer their opinions freely, reveal their thoughts unprompted, and emotionally overshare to build rapport. A strategist understands that in this environment of abundance, scarcity creates immense value. Machiavelli noted that speaking less and observing more enhances one's authority. When you're quiet, people get nervous. They project their own thoughts onto your silence. They assume you're thinking deeply, that you're wise, that you know something they don't. Your silence commands more respect than a flood of words ever could. Think of the most powerful person in any room. Are they the one constantly talking, laughing loudly, trying to be the center of attention? Or are they the one who sits back, observes, and when they finally speak, everyone leans in to listen? Words are currency. The more you spend, the less they're worth. A strategist is frugal with their words, making each one count. This applies directly to handling provocation. When someone insults you or tries to bait you into an argument, your silence is your most powerful retort. It communicates several things at once. Your words are not important enough for a response. You do not have the power to command my attention. I am in complete control. Their aggression meets a wall of calm and just dissipates. It has nowhere to go. Beyond silence, you must also practice emotional scarcity. In a modern, personal context, this isn't about making people fear you. It's about making them understand that your approval, your warmth, and your emotional energy are valuable and not given away for free. Overgiving dulls your value. If you are always the one offering praise, always agreeing, always emotionally available, people will take it for granted. Your validation becomes cheap. But if you are more measured, if you give praise only when it is truly earned, and if you are willing to be emotionally distant when your boundaries are crossed, your approval suddenly becomes a coveted prize. People will work harder for it. Your disappointment will carry more weight. This isn't about playing games. It's about understanding human psychology. We value what is scarce, so practice not automatically offering your opinion in every discussion. Wait to be asked. Don't immediately rush to comfort someone who has created their own drama. Observe first. Don't be available 24/7. Create periods of unavailability. This scarcity makes your presence more powerful. When you do engage, it has more impact. When you do offer support, it is felt more deeply. By speaking less and rationing your emotional output, you transform yourself from a common commodity into a rare and valuable asset. You're no longer just another voice in the crowd. You are the silence that everyone strains to understand. Orchestrate your environment. The final rule is to become the grand architect of your own reality. A mastermind doesn't just react to the world. They shape their environment to suit their purposes. For personal emotional control, this means you must proactively curate your life to protect your peace and reinforce your power. You don't just defend your mental fortress, you design the entire kingdom around it. This starts with your information diet. The modern world is engineered to provoke you. News headlines, social media algorithms, and rage-bait content are all designed to hijack your emotional response because outrage drives engagement. You are being emotionally manipulated on a mass scale every single day. A strategist ruthlessly cuts off these sources of agitation. They unfollow accounts that consistently make them angry. They turn off news notifications. They understand that being informed about every crisis around the globe is often a form of self-sabotage, filling their minds with problems they can't solve and emotions that serve no purpose. This isn't weakness, it's strategic focus. Next, you must orchestrate your social environment. You've probably heard the saying that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. While that's not a hard scientific rule, there's a deep truth to it. Our social circles significantly influence our thoughts and behaviors. If your inner circle is full of complainers, gossips, and reactive people, their chaos will inevitably spill into your fortress. A strategist is ruthless in auditing their relationships. They cultivate alliances with calm, rational, and ambitious individuals. They distance themselves from those who consistently drain their energy or disrespect their boundaries. This can be hard, especially with family or long-time friends. But remember the cold pragmatism of a strategist. You must be willing to make difficult choices for the stability of your kingdom. This may not mean cutting people off entirely, but it does mean strategically managing your exposure to them. You limit the time you spend with them. You define the topics you're willing to engage in. You create and enforce firm boundaries. Finally, orchestrating your environment means shaping how others perceive you.